What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Slice of TV, where we slice into each and every episode of HBO's The Last of Us. Today, because I missed an episode last week, we were talking about two episodes. We're going to be talking about episode 8 and episode 9. And then we're going to be talking about kind of what we look forward to for season 2. And I have a whole panel of guests today. We have some returning guests in Wyatt from the Cinema Trip Reviews. We have Alli from Quad Pro Quo podcast. And we have Matt from the Quad Pro Quo podcast. Welcome in, Matt. Welcome in, everybody else. Welcome back.
Hi.
Thanks for inviting me on, man.
No problem. Thank you all for agreeing to come on. And this is actually the first time I think I've had more than one show on an episode of anything. So, hey, for firsts.
Yay.
So, first off, let's talk. Matt, that's your first time on the show. And I was told that you have played the game because I had Alli on for an episode and she has never played the game. So it was a cool conversation to have, but you have played the game. So what have you thought of the show? Well, now that it's over, what were your thoughts on it?
I was going to consider it perfect, but after seeing the series finale, and literally in episode 8, we were so close to what I wanted to see. So close. Joel had a knife. Joel had a pipe. Joel had some duct tape. Joel did not make a super melee weapon at all. I was very upset about that. For those of you, yeah, that's a big component, as I'm sure you would say from the game, where you'd have to upgrade your weapon, to like do something with a clicker or like just to give you some extra stopping power or something like that. But no, I thought it was, compared to the video game, I thought it was a quite possibly spot on adaptation. I really enjoyed it.
All right, Alli.
I would have been down for seeing Joel like sit there, MacGyver himself like a weird like pipe with like broken glass around it and stuff. I would have been down to
like
see that.
10 minutes of him just building something. It's like, this episode's only 45 minutes. Let's go. We got things to do. Alli, now that we've gone through the entire season, what were your thoughts after the season finale?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked it. It's bleak as fuck. I still stand by my original opinion back when I was on after episode 2, episode 3. Stop procreating in the apocalypse. Stop having children. Stop doing it.
Yep.
Okay? No more kids. Wipe out this disease or fungi infection and then start repopulating the planet. Don't do it at the same time. Just no more. Stop it. But I really enjoyed it. I think the whole series is great. I like that it is going to be obviously more about what people turn into, not so much what we're scared of in the cordyceps, but it's kind of always how it is with like post-apocalyptic anything. You're scared of what humans become, not what the actual like creature is. So I always kind of like that about it. And I like that even though I didn't play the game, the people that from the game are make cameos. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, overall, I really, really enjoyed it.
All right. Wyatt, as someone who has also played the video game, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I really enjoyed the show. I loved it. Overall, I thought that they did a great job of adapting a lot of the main plot points throughout the game. And I liked how they incorporated some new stuff in there to kind of go into some of the backstory or just lore and world building stuff in the universe and everything. Like with episode 3 that I came on the show and we talked about with like Bill and everything. And there was just some other stuff like in the finale you see like with Ellie's mom and everything. I don't know. I'd like them kind of just adding these little things in there to kind of spice it up and give something new to the people that did play the game that kind of knew what was going to happen the whole way through. But I think on the most part, they did a bang up job.
Yeah, I can agree. This is probably one of my favorite shows ever. It just being so faithful to the game, but also creating new things that make sense to the world. I appreciate that very much. I think, and we've talked about it on other episodes where it's like, this is where most video game adaptations go wrong because they don't use the source material well.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we need a beat for beat, retelling of a video game to make it good, but like, look what The Last of Us did. They did use a lot of the elements from the game, but they also added new things. Like the beginning of episode 9, that wasn't in the game, but it was so crucial to see, why is Ellie immune? And getting to see that whole thing, and also getting the awesome cameo from Ashley Johnson, who is Ellie in the game, was great. Yeah. It's just like literally anyone who wants to make a video game adaptation, just look at what The Last of Us did and just take notes. And I think it'll be good. I think Resident Evil, even though they've tried so hard to create something good, and I will always say that those movies are bad. And that show was even worse. Like, just do what The Last of Us did. You can take those elements and like one season you can do Resident Evil, the first game, Resident Evil 2. Yeah. Like, you could just kind of go through it that way instead of being like, yeah, we're just gonna create our own shit and just put stamp that Resident Evil tag right on there. And it's like, no, it doesn't work. It just turns into garbage. Like, you could have called it anything else and people might have enjoyed it. I know there are people that enjoy those movies, but I don't. They're not good.
I completely agree, though. Like, it shouldn't be that hard to adapt something like Resident Evil. But I think a part of the reason that it works, especially with The Last of Us, is because the game is so well written to begin with. Where it's like Resident Evil, you really got to get creative and you actually have to do the writing behind that sort of thing. It's not just right there.
Maybe Resident Evil wasn't a great example.
But I mean... But you could utilize some of those things in there. That way you do have some of like the campiness that you have within the game, those early games and stuff.
Because I mean, Naughty Dog is they basically make playable movies when you think about it. Compared to other video games. They are very narrative driven compared to I think Resident Evil is definitely amped up on that. Like, if they just followed the storyline of Village, they could have a decent horror show. But
I agree.
And of course, Lady Dimitrescu won't hurt. There was a big advantage to Last of Us, and surprisingly, I guess I never saw Uncharted. Did they do a similar thing with that?
That's one I was thinking about too. Like, I didn't see the movie, but everything I saw about it didn't do well. Like, people just did not like Uncharted.
My parents loved it. Loved it.
It was fine. As somebody who is, I love the Uncharted series. Played every single game, and those stories are great. They're not Last of Us level, but being from Naughty Dog, and I know that Neil Druckmann was involved in a lot of them. He as being the creator of The Last of Us. They could have done something great. They just made it into a Indiana Jones spinoff, which I know Uncharted is just Indiana Jones, but in modern times. It was just, it was kind of a mess. They tried too many things at once to kind of kick off this franchise, and they cast Mark Wahlberg.
Speaking of Mark Wahlberg, I was going to bring up Max Payne while we're talking about
video game adaptations.
Like, that's one they should have got right. You had the source material right there.
Just stop casting Mark Wahlberg in video game adaptations, please. And we have a running joke. We have a running joke on the show about how Mark Wahlberg, he can't read. There's no way he knows how to read. Because there's a scene in Uncharted where he's like supposed to be a really smart guy because he's Victor Sullivan, who is like, he's Nathan Drake's sidekick, and he's like very smart. He like looking at all these, but trying to find treasure and stuff. And I just like, there's no way he knows what the hell he's looking at. Listen, I know, I can guarantee he's way smarter than me, but it's just a running joke. Sorry, Mark Wahlberg, don't come after me.
You don't like my video game adaptions?
I'm gonna fight this girl in a Papa John's. Oh no. Listen, it's worth a watch. Watch it once just to say you watched it. It's to be honest, it's better than the latest Indiana Jones movie, in my opinion. As much as I don't hate Crystal Skull, I don't hate Crystal Skull as much as everybody else. I had a lot more fun watching Uncharted.
Okay. I haven't seen Crystal Skull since it came out, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I only ever saw it one time.
It was Steven Spielberg. Yeah. I think, to be honest, I think that movie was just Steven Spielberg being experimental. He's like, CG, let's see what this is all about. Like, I mean, he knew what CG was all about because of Jurassic Park and all that, but this was like, he used so much of it in this movie, where it was just like, whoa, there's some scenes you're just like, where am I? There's no way this is real. You got Shia LaBeouf swinging with monkeys. What's happening here?
Yeah, and that was like how many years before he did like Ready
Ready
Player
Player
One
One.
or whatever.
Yeah.
It's everything
Mhm.
is green screen, pretty
Which I
much.
actually enjoy that movie. But let's get back to The Last of Us. We're going to be talking about episode 8 first, which is When We Are in Need, which this episode is possibly one of my favorites of the entire series or season, because there's a season 2 coming. I don't know about you guys, but this is when we get to see Ellie doing her own thing. Like, she has to pretty much carry the weight of her and Joel's journey, because Joel is, incapacitated, from the stab wound. And she runs into an interesting group run by David, the scary preacher guy, who is anytime there is an apocalyptic environment, an apocalyptic world, and you have a preacher, most of the time they're terrifying. And David is no different. And we have him and we have his little sidekick, James. They deal with Ellie, and then it just turns on a dime. So let's talk about our thoughts on episode 8. Let's start with we'll start with Wyatt this time. Wyatt, what were your thoughts after watching episode 8?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this episode was really, I mean, the 7 and 8 are really about Bella Ramsey's performance as Ellie. I mean, in episode 6, you really got that huge standout performance by Pedro Pascal, and then Ellie really carries these next 2 episodes. I think episode 8 and 9, I kind of have the same opinion on as far as like what they did with it. I feel like it's way too compact. I loved it overall, but I feel like they should have went with the regular like HBO 10 episode season. That way they could have kind of drew these last couple episodes out a little bit, because it just felt like a little too tight and a little too clean. Especially that finale, like 45 minutes for that finale, man. Like, what are you doing? You need to have at least an hour on that one.
I was scared.
But overall, like episode 8, I thought it was fantastic. They did a couple different things, but overall they nailed the accuracy to the game. I mean, that's the scenes that you see, like especially towards the back half of 8, those are the things you really don't want to mess up. So they, did it beat for beat how it was in the game. I mean, it was perfect. My only real, if I would say, was kind of a gripe, was the very end of it, where after David gets settled with Ellie and everything, Ellie goes outside, and then like Joel finds her and everything. I thought it would have been more impactful, just like the game, when she's killing the hell out of David, where Joel rips her off of him and is like trying to calm her down and everything. I feel like that would have been more impactful, just like the game, whereas like she already dealt with that. She's outside trying to find her way back, but I don't know. I just didn't like that little bit of a change from it.
Okay. Allie.
I thought it was terrifying. This whole series is terrifying, but anytime there's mass religious hysteria, always adds a heightened sense of horror to anything. Apparently I was smart, because I guessed what they were within the first 2 minutes of the show, or of the episode. We're allowed to say what they are, right? Are we spoiling?
Yeah. Listen, we missed an episode, and you guys have already heard a bunch of things probably already about this episode, so we're spoiling the shit out of these next 2.
So Matt and I were watching it, and I think I would say maybe 5 minutes, and I turned to him and I went, "Cannibals?" And he was like, "Wow, that was quick." I was like, "It's a post-apocalyptic world. Somebody is eating people. Like it's always going to happen in one of these kinds of scenarios." And just the way that David, when that little girl asked to bury her father, and David said, "Oh, the ground is too cold," which does make sense. That is an absolutely valid reason not to bury somebody. But the way he paused before he said it, I was like, they're eating people.
He shot that look to Troy Baker too for a little bit. You're like,
he shot. Yes, exactly. So that was, and then when he turned out to be a pedophile, and just it was just so gross. Like, and I don't know the game as well, so I did like the end when Pedro Pascal, kind of went up and grabbed her and hugged her. And I mean, obviously she's a daughter replacement for him, but I just thought it was nice that happened. So, but really, really good episode. Great.
Matt.
Yeah. just kind of going to agree with like what Wyatt was saying about this episode. We didn't watch it the night of. I forget why. I don't know. But all my friends that I was talking to about it, we'd normally like start talking about it the next day, and I'd be like, I didn't watch it yet, so nothing yet. And they're just like, oh, well, it's pretty much straightforward. You played the game. It's just screen to screen basically, with a few minor tweaks to it. That was the episode where, like I said, I wanted my melee weapon upgrade, but it didn't happen. Yeah, because also because our one friend who I talked to about it, he was the one that was like, yeah, let me know how soon Allie picks up that they're cannibals. And I'm like, okay, and he was like, wow, that was quicker than I thought. I mean, yeah, like she said, somebody's bound to be eating people in this group, so why not a bunch of crazy religious zealots in, was it Utah? Or
yeah, I think so.
okay,
Which makes so much sense.
But now and then of course, you know, I was sitting there saying it, like I said, I'm pretty sure every big level, like mission sort of storyline, I was just like, I died so many times at this part right here. It took forever to sneak up on him.
Yeah, I mean, this is yeah, I go through the same thing where I was watching the episode and like I know the events that are about to happen, and like my wife is watching it, who of course didn't watch me play the games, and she doesn't know anything about them, so I get to see like her reactions to different things where I'm like, I know who these fuckers are, I know what they're going to do, I know what they're like. Yeah, the only thing is I found David in the game to be a lot scarier than David in the show. I think Nolan North's performance as David in the game was fantastic, and his look was a lot more terrifying.
He looked more menacing.
Yeah.
Because didn't he look like he looked like a younger David Strathairn, I think, if I remember from the video game. And that's definitely a more menacing look than. But then when you think about it, I mean, this unsuspecting guy,
right,
kind of compensates with how creepy he was because of how creepy he didn't look.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the performance of David in the show was fantastic. We did get he was subtly different, and we got James, the kind of the sidekick, who he shows up in the game, but he's very minimal. Like he shows up for a couple spots and then he kind of disappears. And of course, Troy Baker, who is the voice of Joel in the game, plays James in this episode. And he got a pretty gnarly death by the hands of Bella Ramsey's Ellie. That's I think that's what's so great about the game and the show and the writing is that when like Wyatt, your gripe was the whole thing where you wish that Joel was inside, and pulls her off like the game.
Pulls her off of when she's just hacking away at David's face with that hatchet or whatever.
I liked the change of her kind of. I don't think it was her wandering out to try to find where to go. She is in such a
shock type.
Yeah, she's in shock. She's disoriented. She's just wandering. She doesn't know where she's going. I don't think she has a plan of where she's going. She's just wandering until something, either she snaps out of it, or of course when Joel embraces her, she's still like, at first she's like, get away from me, get off of me, because she, of what just happened. But I love the interaction where Joel pretty much embraces her like a daughter, calls her baby girl. He opens up himself fully to Ellie being his daughter now. Like he will do anything for this girl.
And you see that in like the middle of the episode with like one of my favorite parts is him like sleuthing his way around the area and taking those guys out, and then the interrogation scene in the house. Amazing the way it was done.
Yeah, that's another gripe I have is how did Joel go from literally couldn't move an inch to like now he's like going around killing everybody else? Like, oh man, there's the video game. That's where we get the video game.
Like. I remember watching that basement scene, and like whenever he goes down, you see just the mats, like he's gone, and you see that blood stain. And I was like, where is Joel? The whole time this dude's walking around, I'm like looking in the background, like, where is he hiding? And he just comes out of the shadows. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We get to see the ruthlessness. I mean, we knew just from like Joel and Tommy telling their stories about what they had to do in the early days of the of everything that was going on. You didn't get to see how ruthless he was until this episode. Like, this is where, I mean, you get to see him when he like beats the shit out of the guy in the first episode at the end. You kind of see a glimpse there, but this is where he just like, he's torturing these two guys to get information. And even when he gets the information, you're just like, okay, like, just let him go. No, he makes sure he takes him out, and in some pretty gnarly ways.
Yeah.
Like, he makes sure that there's no one left standing. He wants no breadcrumbs. He just takes him out. And we also get the glimpse that we also find out that the guy that he kills at the college was the father of that girl. Who they end up eating, I guess.
Honest, I had to Google search that because I was like, who is this dude they keep talking about? Like, so I feel like they killed a couple people throughout the series. So I'm like, which one of these people they killed was this girl's dad?
Yeah, I'd kind of forgotten who her dad was, and later in the episode when it was kind of starting to reveal that that David was a pedophile, I was like, wait, did he send her father out to be killed so he could have the daughter, basically? And then I was like, oh no, that's right, Joel killed the dad in the last episode. So
that wouldn't be surprising.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was slowly getting rid of the men. That tends to be what happens in like super culty religious communities. The men tend to disappear, and then
like,
all that's left are the
over
women.
the mother real quick at that dinner table.
Yeah, he really like,
what in the world?
Yeah, he like drops to his knees like, I'm your daddy now. And I was like, whoa!
Yeah.
After smacking the hell out of that girl for questioning
after backhanding that child. Yeah, that was
a lot. I was like, Jesus, what? I mean, I know how David was in the game, so but it was still surprising. Like when he backhands that girl, I was like, wow. Because you don't get to see this much of this part in the game. You don't see this whole meeting of like the colony and all that, because they actually cut out a pretty good chunk of Ellie and David's like interaction, because they actually have to hold off infected together in the game. So when they meet each other, they have that campfire scene, and then they hear infected coming, and they actually have to work together to prevent I think they were stalkers from coming inside their little shack they were hanging out in. And then after that, then it moves on. So we didn't even get that. And I think that's a lot of people's complaints about this show, is we don't get a lot of infected in this, which, to be honest, of how good the episodes have been, I haven't even noticed. Like, you get them here and there, but it's not like, oh man, why couldn't we get, I feel like we got enough in that one episode where they just all come out of that hole. I'm like, all right, I think I'm good.
Apparently didn't they say that the bloater costume cost like $500,000?
Yeah.
That's probably why we didn't get as much as we thought we would.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, it's not Game of Thrones yet. They can't throw all their money at it.
Yeah. It's also like 20 years after like the start of everything. And like even in that city, they kind of hoarded them down and underneath the city into like those tunnels, everything. So maybe they're like been kind of they're just not as everywhere as they were before. Maybe, I don't know. It's like you said, the show's so good. I haven't really even noticed since the last time they were in there.
Yeah. Because to be honest, after that episode, we haven't really seen a lot of infected at all. Like,
no.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes sense for the way, like, for instance, like we saw the bloater in that one episode, and because of the changes they made to the infected in the show compared to the game, the bloater is just kind of, he doesn't need to be in it anymore. He makes his appearance, does his thing, goes away, because in the game he's able to like rip parts of himself off, and he uses it as like grenades, as like spore grenades, which would in the game would infect other people, but that's not how the virus works in this world. Right. So the bloater's just like, yeah, that's one of those ones that have been there since the beginning. They're the most infected, and then it's like he does this. He's just a brute. He goes through, kills his, and then just moves on. But I love that episode. But yeah, I just don't notice it. I think it's just showing just how scary not just the infected are, but how scary people are in this world, and what people will do to survive in this world. And this colony, unfortunately, because of the fact that they can't get enough food, they keep bringing people in. And James is like that one guy who's like, I'm telling you something that is important. And you're thinking, well, God said, I got to keep bringing these people in. God, I'm like, he needs to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was going to be the thing I like too, is like the little things like that, where it's even, because you didn't see that in the game, where it's like James, he had his doubts. He was slowly just not believing in David anymore. He was questioning him at a couple moments, because even like it was like the beginning of the episode, David asked him if he like still believes or whatever, and he's like, well, he kind of gave him like a half answer. But even later when they're going to get Ellie, he said he wants her alive, or he's like, well, maybe it's God's decision to let her out here and die or whatever. And he's like, kind of shoots him that look for a minute, like, you standing up to me right now?
Yeah.
Like, you stepping up to me? I don't know. It's those kind of things. And even just like the tiny details, like when you see they bring in the food out for everybody and they have to wait for David to come until they start eating. And everybody's like so like scrawny and they look sickly and have their little bowls of food. And then David has like his whole plate just filled with food. Like he's getting his portion, but everybody else is kind of, scrounging by.
Yeah. He's terrifying. He's pale as hell. He makes you uncomfortable. But yeah, I mean, I feel like now if you go back and you watch this episode again, when they're at that campfire and James is going to get the medicine and they're having this conversation, that's when David's like, I need this girl for my own purposes. And you're just like, yikes, man. And
he even alludes to like not even like being like, he doesn't worship God. He kind of worships like the cordyceps in a way, but he fronts it as God to the people, so they like follow him and everything. It was like, I don't know. They definitely added some layers to his character a little bit though, as far as that goes. But it's weird. They made him a little bit more weird in the show.
Yeah, it just gets weirder and weirder as he catches Ellie and locks her up. That scene though, when James shoots the horse and she flies off. I was like, Joel, what are you doing, man? Oh wait, sorry. Yeah, he brings her back to the settlement and has her locked up and just says things to try to comfort her, and she's too strong for that. She's too strong-willed. She's like pretty much like, fuck you, shut up. Like I'm not listening to any of the garbage that you have to say, because I know that you're wrong. I know that you're just doing this for your own benefit. And I love this is a recreation of the game where he puts his hand on her hand on the cell, and then she kind of looks like she's going to embrace him too, but then she ends up like breaking one of his fingers. And this is also where she notices that they've been eating, that they're cannibals. Is it a foot or a hand?
It's an ear.
Or an ear.
It's an ear. Yeah.
Like, ooh. And he just admits, he's like, yeah, we have to do what we got to do to survive. And I guess, it's one of those things where it's in this type of situation, can you fault them for kind of going in this direction? Is it fucked up? Yeah. But like, if you're having, like, you can't get food and you have all these people and like you have people dying, I guess you got to do what you got to do. So I guess you can't fault them in that perspective, but also lying to their faces and then trying to seduce a 14-year-old girl. That just ain't it.
Yeah, you can't really fault them for having to do that. I guess it's more of how the means they're coming by the flesh.
Yeah.
Like if they're actually openly killing people to then eat them, or if these people are dying naturally and then they're eating them, that's one thing. But if they are murdering people to eat them and not telling the rest of the people that, hey, by the way, you're gonna eat your daddy later. And not like good daddy, not like Pedro Pascal daddy, but like your actual daddy.
Your father.
You're going to be eating your father later, not telling people that. Also, you can get really sick from eating human meat. There's a horror movie they made about it, about these family of cannibals that have like a brain disease because all they do is eat like human flesh. And it's like,
we're talking about Wrong Turn?
I don't really think it's, huh?
Are we talking about Wrong Turn?
Oh no, not Wrong Turn. I think, what's it called? I can't remember what it's called.
Have eyes?
I'll find it.
I thought you were talking about Raw at first.
No, it's called like They Look Like Us or something like that. I can't. It has
I've heard of it.
It has,
that sounds familiar.
It has Ruth in it from Ozark, and it has Kurt Russell's son in it.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking. Does it have is the cover like two girls sitting at a kitchen table and there's a creepy guy standing behind them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the poster for that.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch it.
So they're like a family of cannibals, and the mom like dies from like it's like a disease you get if you eat too much human meat, I guess. I don't know.
Yikes.
But yeah, I guess it would depend on how they're coming by the human meat, which if the guy is a pedophile, he probably has no qualms of killing people to eat them.
Yeah.
So
I'm assuming they're killing them because I mean, when Joel comes in later, you see like the bodies hanging upside down with like their limbs cut off. And it was like, I don't think those people like died naturally, or I mean, they could have got killed by somebody else. You never know, but I don't know. There's like 3 or 4 bodies hanging up there in that shed.
Yeah, we get Joel, recovering super fast from the penicillin that Ellie just okay. Tammy's the one who's a nurse, right?
Tammy's a nurse. Yeah.
Did you ask her if this was a proper way to inject penicillin into a wound?
I didn't think it was. But.
I'm trying to think, because I said that when we were watching it. I'm like, I don't think this is right. I don't think you're supposed to shove it in the wound like that. But I guess it doesn't really matter. But also, it's like, how old is this amoxicillin that she's injecting into Joel? I mean, it worked.
Oh, is that what it was? Like, was it amoxicillin?
It
was one of those
it's
cylinders.
Kind of the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Penicillin, amoxicillin. But like, how old is it?
Right.
Because it's been 20 years. You think they're still making vaccines and medications and stuff like that? And also, I just don't know if you're supposed to like just, Pulp Fiction style into the open wound.
That's why he recovered so fast, because they did this.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That was her thought process, I think. Right. Her thought process is like, I will just inject it right into it.
Or maybe it was slow to react like the Quaaludes in Wolf of Wall Street. So that's why we were like, you were just laying there not doing anything. And then all of a sudden it's...
possibly one of the greatest scenes ever. Quaaludes scene. Oh, man. But yeah, Joel, recovers really quick. We get a really cool game-like situation where he's going around stalking all the other guys, killing them off. He interrogates the 2 dudes in really brutal fashion. Even the fact that, like, he gives the information, kills the one guy. He's like, oh, he gave you the information. He's just like, I don't care. And then just kills them.
I believe him.
Second. Yeah.
Great.
What a great line too.
But it's also like, you have no leg to stand on to beg for your life when you were going to kill him and, let's be honest, eat him and then rape his daughter, basically. Like, you have no leg to stand on begging for your life. Yep. Okay. So that was that scene was great. I like just the way he said it, and then it just kind of went to black. It was so cool.
So Joel then finds the settlement. He finds the barn that has the deer that Ellie ended up killing, that they had taken, and then he sees the dead bodies hanging upside down, skinned, brutal. And but then he really doesn't do anything. Like, he doesn't really do much after that. Because it's all about Ellie and her escaping. She gets strapped because after she breaks David's finger, he goes to get James, and it's like, this is it. Like, we're like, you're not going to cooperate. This is the end. So he gets James. They get her down on a table, and she tells them that she's infected, which then pauses David from actually cutting her. I'm guessing he was going to cut her hand off or something, but he puts the knife down, and she explained, he's like, and James is like, that's impossible. There's no way. You'd have been turned already. They see the mark, and it makes David freeze. Like, he doesn't know how to react to the situation, but then it's too late.
Because he was bit. She bit him whenever, like...
Right, so he immediately was like, oh, am I going to get infected now?
He thinks he's infected, yeah.
And it's just enough time for Ellie to grab the butcher knife and get James in the neck. And so, video game Joel dies in The Last of Us show. R.I.P. Actually, Joel and Ellie die in this show.
It doesn't seem like anyone from this game lasts very long.
Yeah. So, yeah, she escapes. And this is where we get the awesome, like, log cabin restaurant. It was where their meetings were, where they had, like a steakhouse hall.
Type thing, yeah.
It was like an old restaurant. This is where we get it, where it's, she sets it on fire and you get them kind of stalking around. This part of the game was terrifying to play because you couldn't barely see him. He was like always in a shadow. So you always had to like try to, and you pretty much, your whole thing was to sneak around him. And then, it was kind of like how you would have to try to kill a clicker. You had to like get behind him and hit him a couple times and try to hide again. And I like how they had that aspect in the show to the point where he finally gets her and pins her down, and he's going to do some bad things to her. And
that last line he has is so creepy.
Yeah. What was the line?
Yeah, what did he say?
He was saying like, you can go ahead and like squirm or scream, or he's
That's
like,
why
I like the
I like
fight
that.
or whatever.
He did,
I forget
yeah,
the exact
it's
quote,
like,
but it was like, he's like, this is my favorite part, is what
No.
he says. It's like, oh, gross, dude.
Oh no. Yeah, and
So
but she,
gross.
she gets the upper hand, and she goes to town. And as
Mhm.
Get what
Wyatt's
you fucking deserve.
as Wyatt's stated before in the game, Joel has to like rip her off of David, where and then they embrace in the cabin, where I'm like, but the cabin's on fire. Maybe we should get
It's
out
on
before we hug. In the show, like I said, I like the change. I like the fact that she does it until she can't no more, and then she just wanders out in complete shock. She's probably just seeing black or just bright light. Like it's just she doesn't know where she is. And then of course Joel finds her, and she just at first is very hesitant, but then realizes who it is, and he embraces her like a daughter. And then they wander off. And that is the end of episode 8. Meaning we have one episode left to talk about of the entire season, and that is episode 9. Look for the light.
Look for the light.
All right, let's go around and talk about our thoughts on episode 9. Let's start with Alli this time.
Okay. I had very like mixed thoughts about the episode because I completely understand his rationale behind what he does, but it's not smart rationale. Like I understand he lost a daughter, he doesn't want to lose another one, but dooming the entire rest of the world is a big choice to make without consulting the person that could potentially hold the cure, we'll say.
Right.
And then you also seem to like, well, but what are the chances that it would actually work? But you don't know until you try. So, and then I really liked the scene, like the kind of quiet scene with the giraffes. I thought that was really kind of beautiful. It really reminded me of Jurassic Park a little bit when they're up in the trees and the brontosaurus, the brachiosauruses come by. I thought that was kind of cute.
There's a real giraffe, by the way. That was a real giraffe.
No,
they showed behind the scene footage of an action. It was all blue screen, so like everything else was visual effects, and the giraffe was real.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
it didn't look real.
It looked like a CG giraffe.
It did.
It's just crazy how like CG we can make those.
Yeah,
like, we can't spot the differences now on some things. Damn,
like the blue screen background interacting with it that made it look like CG. But yeah, you're right. It didn't look real the whole time. Yeah. But I was bought in because I didn't think we were getting that scene at all.
I didn't either. I thought that, to be honest, I hadn't played the first game in a while, so like I had certain things happening earlier. Like I thought the giraffe scene was way earlier in the game. Like I thought that was when they were going through Pittsburgh.
I thought the giraffe scene was like basically before the cannibals. Like I thought it was supposed to happen like last episode or something.
I thought so too. Yeah, I didn't think we were going to get it at all. I was surprised.
But I'm glad we did because it's a very emotional scene in the game as it is here in the show.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I liked like the I like the episode. And I like and that I want to see Joel be this berserker. Basically, it's the only thing I can think of is that he just goes to town. But it's been alluded to. I feel like for so long, like these things I had to do with my brother and blah blah blah. So it's like I feel like you kind of just think, oh well, maybe it's just like one or two people that he was forced to kill or something like that. And then this montage of him just like annihilating everybody. It really shows kind of who he is.
Yep.
Yes, he is probably a good person, but it's a lot to do just to save Ellie.
We're seeing old Joel. This is the Joel.
Seeing old
Mhm.
Joel. Yeah. And then, them leaving and going, I guess they're going back to the brothers
Yep.
kind of compound in Colorado or wherever. And then him, kind of lying, which I understand why he did it, but again, it's just it was a lot. It was a lot to watch. I was just like, every time he kills someone, I was like, oh my god, Joel. This is a lot. Like when he shot that doctor in the head, I screamed. It was so shocking to me.
Yep.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, you don't bring a scalpel to a gunfight, but
No.
just I didn't expect him to just flat out shoot that guy in the head. And then when he told those nurses to turn around, I was like, oh, he's gonna execute them. Like, I don't think he did though, did he?
No. In the
No.
game, you have an option. You can shoot the nurses,
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
but Joel doesn't kill him in this.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I really liked it, but again, bleak.
Yeah.
So bleak. And then I was wondering what the time passing was, because I feel like when they go back to the town, it's like spring almost. And when they were there only a couple episodes ago, it was like full on winter. So I was wondering, like, how long was he sick in the cannibal episode? How long? Like, I was wondering the time passage. I wasn't totally sure about
How long
that.
did it take for them to get back there?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the time frame is. They don't tell you anything. They don't give you like
Okay.
No.
2 weeks later or anything like that. You just go kind of figure it out yourself.
They
or
should have
just
did like
guess.
an Indiana Jones map with the red lines.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. I mean, I had
at
a
least let you
car.
know either before
Yeah.
or at the end of that episode. Like, this is where we're at now, going into
Yes.
I can't wait to get that again in Dial of Destiny.
Dial of Destiny.
Indiana Jones at 80 years old. Let's go. Yeah. Matt.
Okay, yeah. Again, it was because speaking of Indiana Jones, we were watching the Oscars that night, so had to watch it yesterday. But again, it was a pretty straightforward. Like, I felt like a straightforward game episode, with the exception of the inclusion of Ellie's mom, played by Game Ellie, and kind of like breaking down the how she became immune. Basically, that was like out of left field, but a surprising. I was like, wow, okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. So I guess it was a good thing that somebody did have a kid in the apocalypse. But
But
uh,
can I ask a question? Why does that explain how she's immune?
I don't know.
Because
they said, I forget in the episode, they said
They said it
about
was like-
it's like tricks it in her brain that she's already infected. That's why she can't
Yeah.
get infected. Is like it's
Or-
something in her blood that automatically tricks
because
the
it
virus.
because it
that's already in
showed
her.
it showed
like-
that the like the baby was being born as she was getting attacked, and then of course like she notices the bite right after she cuts the umbilical cord, meaning that bite already was there, meaning that
Mhm.
the cordyceps definitely got in there and is in Ellie. And so it was one of those things, I guess, where like she just kind of figured it out. Like she's just I think she knows like the possibility of the baby being infected, but she's like, yeah, I cut it before, so it's fine. Here, Marlene.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And then,
Okay.
like, I guess as she grew older, her immune system developed to kind of just like, I don't know, maybe suppress it or see it as like just a part of her. So it's and yeah, she's sending off the signals to everyone else that the other infected, that she's already infected. So no need to fight her.
Yeah, which I
But
thought that
also,
was a cool thing when you see like I don't remember what episode it was, but wasn't there a scene where Ellie encounters an infected and it just kind of like goes right by her? Maybe that was in the game.
I don't remember. I remember that being. I know that happened like to Tess, and like before she died, like before.
Oh,
everything got
okay,
blown
maybe
up
that's what I'm
after
thinking of.
episode.
But I think in the game there might have been something similar too, where like the infected don't attack. Like if it's just Ellie, I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I just know that like the way they explained it in the show was like with that virus already being in her system, if she got bit or anything like that, the virus it detects that she's already infected. That's why it doesn't spread throughout her immune system. From what they like that little, they had like one sentence about it, and like Marlene says in the show. That scene was cold as ice though. When she killed Ellie's mom, she just walks in there and just blasts her. Like, damn, like no questions, no talking, just walks right back in and shoots her. Like, damn.
Hey, she said she would.
Yeah,
That's true.
She would.
She's a good friend.
Mhm.
I think I mean,
I kind of like
I
that
wouldn't want to
connection.
go like lose my mind and go crazy like that.
I kind of like that connection that Marlene has been around Ellie since birth, and
Mhm.
you know that kind of makes sense to the whole relationship. Like in the beginning, like Ellie doesn't really know who Marlene is, because Marlene gives her away, I guess, when they get to Boston. But it just shows that like she's been watching her the entire time, and now that noticing that she has this immunity, we got to figure out what to do with it. And so I like that whole connection with Marlene and I think it was Anna was the mother's name. They've been best friends since they were kids. Ashley Johnson also fucking kills it in this. In the 5 minutes she's in this, her like having
Really
to
good.
run through the woods, and she's in labor and then having to fight off the stalker. As and then she gives birth to the baby as she's fighting, which is just wild.
Yeah.
Matt, I think we interrupted you. Keep going. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. That's what the discussions are for. But also, like, the thing that kind of was a little off-putting at first was just like how much of a goober dad that Pedro became to Ellie. Like he's like, hey, you know what? I really want to hear those jokes now. Well, let's do what you want to do. Oh, I don't know. Come on, what do you? And then like after it's the light switch and he turns into like Joel Wick when he goes into the like I knew that was happening because of playing the game, but like he just goes in, it's like, oh, yeah, like I said, something out of John Wick basically, but to get her out of there. And I mean, just knowing what I know now, I was sitting there just cringing about that because without saying to yeah, but like, it was I thought it was a good again, just like in just to get back to what I said at the beginning, just very straightforward, followed the game, did an excellent ending, and it was very well acted and pretty good ending.
All right. Wyatt?
Yeah. One of my favorite things about the series and the game is just that growing relationship between Joel and Ellie. And like what you were talking about is, I feel like in most TV shows where something crazy happens in one episode, everything kind of goes back to normal in another episode, the next one. Whereas this one, you do have that continuation. Ellie is completely fucked up still from what happened in that last episode going into this one, where, I mean, Joel, he's warmed up to her now. He does treat her like his daughter. That's like, he's trying to pal around with her. He's trying to talk to her more. And obviously, he knows something's up with her. She's not, fully right at this point. But until they do have that conversation, I don't know. I just like that continuity, with Ellie. She's just not back to her old jokey self, or whatever, after that trauma she went through in that last episode. And then, the draft and everything like that, that's what kind of made her open up, and she starts talking about everything. I don't know. I just love that growing relationship, and it builds up to, the hospital and everything, and Pedro losing his shit whenever Marlene tells him what's going to happen. I do wish the episode was a little longer, especially where you took like 10 minutes to, go with like Ellie's mom's backstory there in like the beginning of the episode. You could have needed like 20 more minutes of this to kind of draw it out a little bit more. Even though that hospital rampage, I would have liked to see a little bit more of it drawn out. I think it was great. It was well done overall. I'd love that, just the dark music they played over top of it as it was happening. Some of the imagery, man, like the dude sits his gun down to give up and Joel just not pops him anyway. And just that scene where like he shoots the dude in that one room and he like runs out of ammo and he just flicks that knife open. It's like, it gave me chills. I was like, oh shit, like he's gonna go butcher this dude now.
Mhm.
And then he just picks up another gun, and it's just like the game too, where he's like, up out of bullets, I'm gonna pick up this other gun just sitting on the floor and just gonna go to town with these. And it's like, I don't know. This is exactly what we've been missing from Joel, because we've been hearing it all season and we finally get to see it. I mean, everybody's gonna have their own opinion. Was he right? Was he wrong? But I mean, I feel like that's the point of the show and the story itself.
It's been debated for 10 years. Is Joel the villain? I mean, is Joel a bad guy? It's, as Alli was stated before, it's just him. He lost a daughter already. Like, he is making sure he doesn't lose another one. Like, he will do whatever he has to. And even if he knows truly that his decision is wrong, he doesn't care. I mean, people could say it's selfish because he's just thinking about himself. And but it's also the fact that, like Marlene says, talking about like how well, what if Ellie, this is what Ellie wanted, and it's like, well, did Ellie want this? Well, I don't know.
No, they didn't ask her.
You didn't even ask her. So like, she doesn't even. She just kind of goes into this blind. Well, they probably just put her under right after they knocked her out when they captured him. So it's one of those things like, who is right here? Like, do I think Joel should have went through? Do I think Joel should have killed that doctor? Probably not. But he's seeing red. He's seeing that his daughter, his surrogate daughter, is in trouble, and he is not losing another one, because that'll be the end of Joel. Like, if Ellie were to die, I think Joel would have killed himself fully. Like, he talked about trying after his daughter died 20 years ago, because they talked about how he got patched up because somebody at first Ellie thinks it's like he got shot by somebody else, but he ends up telling her like, no, it was me. I failed at trying to kill myself. And I like that whole revelation of like, she's like, I'm glad it didn't work. He's like, me too. So if Ellie were to have died, that would have been it. Joel would have finally did what he wanted to do 20 years ago. But yeah, I mean, I think it's well done. I do agree with Wyatt. I think it should have been longer. I think we could have fleshed some things out a little bit. I think the hospital scene was just too quick. It was like, oh man, we're already at the hospital. It's only 20 minutes into the
you're there and then you're gone.
I thought there was more stuff that happens before this, but that's what I was worried about, because I'm like, one episode left, 45 minutes. I feel like there's so much left of the game left to tell. But to be honest, it worked out though. I wasn't disappointed. I thought they did a great job with that whole John, like Matt was saying, like the whole John Wick style scene of him just wiping out everybody at the hospital, just going to town. And just being ruthless, and killing the doctor, taking her out, and then of course the whole Marlene situation in the parking garage, where she's just like, you do this, like it's never, that's it, like we're never going to have this chance ever again, like she is our only hope. And he's just like, I don't care. It's like, I am going to do what I think is best for her. And he's like, she's like, well, best for her? Did you even ask her? He's like, no, I don't have to.
You even ask her?
Yeah. And then it cuts to him driving. And at first, I was like, they're not going to show it, are they? As they're driving, but then they do flat, as he's talking to Ellie, as she's asking questions, it flashes back to Joel shooting Marlene. And then he shoots her, and then does a headshot, ends her completely. And
it's like the best line of the game and the show too, where she's like, don't like leave me alive. Like, you don't have to do this. And he's like, you're just going to come after her. And that's when he blasts, like, amazing. Like, Joel gets those one-liners, and that one, it really hits at the right time.
Yeah.
And also, like, how does she think she's actually going to survive? It's a gut shot. Everyone else is dead.
She had a gut shot the first episode. How did she get better from that?
I don't.
Yeah, she was. You're gonna bleed out. I'm sure there's like 8 years old amoxicillin that she just sticks straight into her tummy.
She's up there like, do I just stick this straight into the wound?
Okay.
What do I do with this? I don't know. But yeah, they drive as far as they can until they have to walk the rest of the way to Jackson, and we get the scene where Ellie is like, you know, tell me the truth. Like,
hmm
you know, what is it? Oh man, I'm like blanking right now. But it's like she just asks, like, everything you told me about the Fireflies is true, and he says yes,
hmm And she says
and
like, okay.
she's like, okay,
Okay.
and that's where it ends. But she knows that
Yeah.
it wasn't true at all. And yeah, and then we just have to wait.
Mm.
I still remember playing the game for the very first time, and that's exactly how the game ends. And I would just remember being blown away. Like,
Yeah.
when are we getting part 2? Like, I need to know what happens after this. It
Yeah.
ends on a lie. Like, what's going to happen from here?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we all know or actually 3 out of the 4 of us know what season 2 is going to be about because we played The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah. Well, season 2 and 3, it seems they're going to split it up, I guess.
That's exciting. Ooh. But so let's ask Alli. Alli, what do you think
God.
is going to happen in season 2? What do you want to see in season 2?
Well, I mean, I have to assume that, like you said, she knows that he's lying to her.
Mhm.
Will she ever find out the truth? Because there's no one still alive in the hospital unless someone is and comes back. But what's that gonna do? I mean, that's not gonna change anything. I honestly don't really know what to expect. So they go back to Jackson. And I'm assuming they're not going to live peacefully there, because what would be the point of having a game? I have no idea, to be honest. I literally have no idea what's going to happen in season 2.
Yeah,
I don't know.
she asked me last night, and after we watched it, I'm like, not telling you.
No.
Nope.
Yeah.
I was weak.
Can't.
And
If you want to
asked.
know, if you really want to know, play The Last of Us Part 2 and you'll get a good idea.
Yeah, I don't, because I feel like everything kind of happened in the first season that I would expect to happen.
Mhm.
And so I'm not really sure. I'm assuming it's not going to be a happy ending. So I don't. It either ends incredibly bleak or they find a cure. Those are the only 2 options, really.
Yeah. And
in the grand scheme of things, I guess.
And we'll have to wait to find out if which version is right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to ask the other 2 because we already know what the season 2 and 3 are going to
Before
entail.
we kind of talk about it, though, like the last thing I wanted to mention about the episode is it's right there in like the final scene, whenever they're walking up the mountain and everything, and Joel's just talking about his daughter and talking about like, oh, I used to go hiking with her all the time. You would have actually liked her. I think you would have been friends and all this. And like, I feel like it puts you in Ellie's shoes because you feel uncomfortable for her.
Because he's just being dumb, to be honest. Like he's like, yeah, she wasn't like you because she was girly. Not that you're not girly. And she's like, I'm not.
She had a beautiful smile. Not that you don't have a good smile or whatever, but like even just the stuff where he's like just kind of trying to put her in the place of his daughter, and she kind of realizes that like
he's out of practice. He hasn't been a dad in 20 years.
Well, not even just that, but just like she understands at that point, like she is his daughter to him at this point right now, and he just keeps, even before, like he wasn't mentioning his daughter really at all to her. Like that was one of the rules, like you don't talk about her and everything, and now he's like talking about his daughter all the time, and kind of like, I don't know, it was a very kind of uncomfortable scene, at least for Ellie. I felt like I was in Ellie's shoes at that part, like a little cringy Joel.
I thought she was gonna spin on him and freak the fuck out. I thought she was going to like turn around and be like, I'm not your fucking daughter, or scream at him. I was waiting for it to happen, and I was like, no, don't yell at Pedro.
That's the perfect like kind of thing though, is like, I'm not your daughter. Like I know you want me to be like.
Yeah. But I feel that would have been really out of place. I mean, I guess, but she doesn't know exactly what happened in the hospital. But like we get the line before where she pretty much tells him like, I'll go wherever you go. So
that line hit hard.
yeah,
Like that one hit me hard too. I was like,
you want to go back to
"Jeez."
Jackson, you want to have your sheep farm, you want, wherever you want to go, I'm gonna be there. So it's like
This
she
whole
has
episode hit
accepted
real
it.
hard.
Yeah,
That's where she
Yeah.
was like, because even that was at the part where he told her, like, we can just leave. Like, I know we came this far, but we don't have to go to the Fireflies. We can just go back and live with Tommy and them. And she's like, well, that means everything that happened up to this point is for nothing. Like, everybody that died is for nothing. I got to do what I have to do. And that's why she wanted to go. But man, if they would have just turned back, all this could have been kind of avoided.
Mm.
all right, do we have any
That
final
was a great scene, though.
do we have any final thoughts before we end this?
Oh man, it was amazing. I
Yeah.
cannot wait. It's going to be a long wait for season 2. Whenever, who knows when it's going to come out. I know HBO takes a couple years in between seasons, so I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, maybe with the success they try to rush it out. But I don't know. Especially with playing the game, I cannot wait to see how they do part 2 within the show itself.
Are they gonna call it The Last of Us Part 2?
You just still call it The Last of Us. I
Well,
mean,
yeah, I mean, it's probably just gonna be called The Last of Us Season 2, but like,
Yeah.
or do they just
Yeah.
do Part 2? I don't know.
Why not?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely hope it. I mean, I don't know when they even plan on starting filming that, but I do hope it's.
I think it's this year from what I
Soon
was
and-
seeing from, because I
Okay.
watched too many interviews with Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey.
Yeah, I've seen
so
rumors about it possibly
Yeah.
filming by the end of the year. So maybe like 2024 or something. Late
Okay.
2024, 2025.
Okay.
It's not like Game of
Yeah, they
Thrones
got-
where you have so much effects that you got to do.
That's true.
And plus, HBO does need something to fill that because House of the Dragon isn't going to come back for like another 2 years. So
Exactly.
they
I'll
gotta
wait for that
do
one.
something.
Yeah.
This actually is the highest viewed HBO show. It actually beat out House of the Dragon last
Yeah.
year. So
Yeah.
people are
Oh.
loving the show. People, I mean, to be honest, if I
Mhm.
could give, I mean, we don't do ratings on this, but I mean, this is a 10 out of 10 for me. I mean, there are episodes that aren't as strong. I think there are some minor issues, but for me, I'm like, as somebody who enjoyed the game so much, it's one of my favorite games of all time. They did so good with this show, giving us what
Mhm.
we wanted, but also giving us some new stuff that we never, that even players of the game didn't see,
Mhm.
and but they fit so well. Like episode 3 is a prime example with, Bill and Frank. Bill was
Yes.
not he was a bigger character in the game, but you only saw him for a small part of the game, and then it's like you leave and it's just that's it. Like they
Mhm.
flesh him out and they give Frank more of a spotlight because in the game you don't ever meet Frank. So like to get to see that relationship blossom for an hour and then get fucking stamped in the heart at the end, as this entire show did. They're like, hey, look at these great characters.
Can't get
Yeah.
attached to
Death.
anybody.
Do I need to bring the tissues this week for this episode or
Yeah.
Ugh.
I mean, this is a 10 out of 10. This is one of my favorites. I
Mhm.
can't wait for a Blu-ray. I need the Blu-ray right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did you have a favorite episode? Like anybody have like a favorite episode of theirs over this course of the season?
I think episode 2 was probably my favorite. I loved Anna Torv, and I think that shot at the end of her with the cordyceps, like
Oh, yeah.
kissing her basically,
yes.
like it was horrifying. But she was so good in this show, even though she was only in it for two episodes. I just loved that entire episode because she's so talented. I liked the scene with the clickers and the museum and all that. I thought it was so good. It was yeah.
Now that she
Yeah, that was a great one.
now that she can't come back, can they do Mindhunter season 3, please?
Please.
Please.
I love how Netflix is like, it's too expensive. I'm like, you will make every single terrible romance comedy starring Lindsay Lohan, but you can't throw some money at David Fincher's serial killer show. Come on. Like,
You'll make the most generic action movie for $200 million
Yes.
with Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans that literally wasn't very good. And you're like, you can't make a good show? We got to get all these
Yes.
mediocre movies? Stop it, Netflix. Stop
It's so good. Mm.
it. Matt, do you got a favorite episode?
I'd probably it's a toss up between because I already forget the numbers of the episodes except for like episode 3. That's my one. That's a toss up between that and the second Kansas City episode. Like with
Endure and
with
Survive.
Sam.
That's my
and-
favorite episode. Is
yeah.
Endure and Survive, because that's the whole Sam
Mhm.
and
That's my favorite
Yeah.
episode as well, Henry and Sam. Yeah,
Mhm.
that was the one that actually made me like cry in that episode at the end.
It's
I was
so
like,
rough.
even though I knew what was gonna happen, just
Mhm.
seeing it in live action, it hit even harder, man.
It's-
And just
yeah.
that whole story with them and everything, and you had the bloater in the episode and all the infected. It had a little bit of everything in The
Mhm.
Last of Us in that one episode.
That one was challenging for me because it was after that episode where I was like, I wasn't going to stop watching it, but I was starting to get frustrated because I always say to Matt, like, I don't like to feel like I'm wasting my time when I watch shows, so I never watch Lost.
no, you watch Lost, you
and-
get lost.
And so I just felt like, what's the point of even caring about anyone on the show if they're
Mhm.
all going to die, and they're all going to die really horribly? Like, not even like, just, I mean, at least with the Frank episode, Frank, was that his name?
Yeah. Frank
Yeah.
and Bill.
Yeah.
At least,
Frank.
yeah, it was sad, but at least it was this life that they had together.
Right.
You know, everything else, it's like they either kill themselves or they get bitten, or it's just like, why am I investing in these characters? That one
Sounds
challenged
like
me a
me
little
watching
bit.
Game of Thrones. Just like,
Yeah.
why? I love it so much, but gotta
Mhm.
break my heart.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
Especially when it's children. For some reason, it's
Yeah.
children. It's just like, why? What?
Yeah, you
I
get the
understand.
child and clicker in that episode too. An episode
oh
with
my
a
god,
weird child like
terrifying.
that car. It was so creepy.
Gosh, it was like 30 Days at Night or something like
It was
that.
great. But yeah, I think the worst part of the end of that episode, because like knowing, I mean, it plays very similar to the game, is that Sam is deaf in the show, so it kind of it even hits you harder. Like, you don't want to see a child die, but like he is, oh man, it's just heartbreaking, especially when they wake up and Ellie goes, she doesn't think he's infected, like she doesn't think he's turned,
Yeah.
and the only reason he attacks her is because he sees her. It's not because he's
Mhm.
deaf, he can't hear. So like if she just
Can't
had
hear.
left the room, he would have just sat there
Mhm.
for however long until Henry, probably would have freaked out, went in there to see what was going on, and then he gets attacked. But yeah, I mean, I thought they played that whole end of I mean, that episode is just fantastic from beginning to end.
Mhm.
The whole Kathleen
Mhm.
thing, and her
Yeah.
kind of meeting her maker because she just was going too far with things because Henry had to do what he had to do, and unfortunately it ended up killing her brother and all this stuff, and how everything just kind of intertwines, because Henry and Sam in the game were just kind of characters you run into. They weren't really connected to anything else. So it was cool that
Mhm.
every character kind of has some sort of connection to somebody else. It's not just like,
Mhm.
because most of the time you're running into people like Bill. When you ran into Bill, he was just kind of there. He had his own town, all fortified, and then all that stuff. Then you got kind of like a letter about Frank, or you see Frank because he ends up killing himself. So
Mhm.
I just like the changes that they made to make it make sense and to kind of keep the story cohesive.
Connect the pieces
Yeah.
in different ways. Like in the
Mhm.
show, like with Bill, you see them having that sit down with like Joel and Tess and
Mhm.
everything, and they were friends with them and trading with them back and forth.
Mhm.
But that's it. That
It's great though.
is The Last of Us. This has been a fun ride the last 7 weeks or 8 weeks, however many weeks I've been doing this.
Mhm.
And this is also going to be the last episode of Slice of TV for a while, because it's exhausting doing these TV shows every week, along with all the other content that we
I don't know how
try to
you
put
do
out.
that.
Yeah, that's why I'm not doing it going forward. Well, I might do some here. I'm going to still talk about TV shows, just not like this. This was a very
Okay.
special show. I had been talking about it since I heard they were going to make it, and I
Mhm.
was determined to cover it. So thank you to all the three of you for joining me. Alli, for
Mhm.
joining me on a prior episode. Wyatt, this is your second time being on here for this. And then Joey from So Wizard Podcast for joining me on an episode. It's been a lot of fun. Did I miss anybody? I think that's all the people I've had on this show. Like I said, it's a lot. We did a lot. So, but it was a lot of fun, and I thank everybody for
Yeah.
listening, for talking with me about it, and I'm very excited for season 2. And when season 2 comes out, we'll be doing the same thing. I promise you that. I will come back for this. All right, now it's time for you guys to talk about yourselves. Wyatt, start it off. Where can people find you, and what do you got going on over there at Cinema Trip Reviews?
Yeah, I mean, everybody can find me at Cinema Trip Reviews on Twitter, on Instagram, pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. Definitely go check us out, like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. Just released a Scream 6 review today, so go check that out. I am going to have a finale review of The Last of Us with my buddy Alex. We've been also doing those reviews as over, bi-weekly. It's hard to do them every week, man. I had to do bi-weekly, cover that. 2 episodes at a time. But now, getting right back into movie reviews going forward here, because I am also not getting into the TV game for a while.
It's exhausting. So all of Wyatt's links will be down in the description. Alli, Matt, where can people find you, and what do you guys got going on over there at Quad Pro Quo?
Okay, so we are at Quad. Huh? Yeah.
I said, I was pointing up. Let her just. I make the fart jokes. She does all the other stuff.
So we are at Quad Pro Quo Pod across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and we are part of the Deluxe Edition Podcast Network now. So
congratulations!
Lots of other podcasts. Thank you. Lots of other great podcasts, and they're at deluxeeditionnetwork.com. This Thursday, the 16th, we are releasing our second round 2 of the Russell Tussle, our Kurt Russell themed episodes. And it's his birthday on March 17th, and it's my birthday on March 18th. So we're basically like best friends, me and Kurt. Awesome. So round 2 is going to be, I'm trying to think. Oh, Tombstone versus Big Trouble in Little China. Ooh. And then we will award the ultimate Kurt Russell movie out of the 4 that we've done. And then, just back to our normal kind of schedule in April. I think we're doing The Three Musketeers. We're doing some movie called
the Chris O'Donnell
Ninjas.
one.
Yeah, the Chris O'Donnell one is my pick.
Oh my God, Chris O'Donnell! Anybody want to? If you want to know what I think of Chris O'Donnell, watch or listen to our Batman Forever or Batman and Robin episodes. I don't like him.
Oh no, terrible! Absolutely awful. But it has Tim Curry, and Oliver Platt in it.
Yes,
it's great.
I remember watching it as a kid. It's a great time.
Yeah. So just back to our regular, normal choices in April. But the round 2 of the Russell Tussle comes out this Thursday, the 16th. So
woohoo! Mm-hmm. Very, very cool. Fun fact: my dad and Kurt Russell were born in the same state or same city. I only live 45 minutes away from Springfield, Mass. So
okay,
yeah.
Oh wow.
Kurt Russell was born there, and then I think like Matthew Perry from Friends was born like 15 minutes from here. Oh. Massachusetts. A lot of celebrities are from this tiny ass state. But for us, he's on the opposite side. Listen, where I live, people don't even believe it exists. Like I'm on the western part of the state where people are like, where even people who live in my state don't even know where I live. Like, whoa, where's that? What the fuck?
Oh, well, we live in Delaware, so people don't think our whole state exists.
Which is funny because you are the very first state.
It's true.
It was a joke in Wayne's World. Come on. That's all we are.
That's all we get is the joke in Wayne's World.
Oh, no.
And Fight Club. That's pretty much it.
Gotta love it. As for us, this Friday, we will be releasing our St. Patrick's Day episode where we are talking about the 1993 Leprechaun with Jennifer Aniston. And
she's on the episode? You got Jennifer
Aniston? No, I wish. That would be awesome. Actually, I don't know if she would ever go on anything to talk about Leprechaun. I know that she she at one point in her career pretty much pretended like she wasn't even in that movie. She'd be like, "What? What do you mean?"
I feel like though now, at this stage, she's probably just like, "Yeah, whatever. I get it."
Yeah, she's probably come to terms with it. Everyone starts out in a terrible horror movie.
Oh yeah,
so.
It happens.
I love it. But so we're doing Leprechaun on Friday, and then the next 2 weeks after that, we're finishing up the Alien franchise with Prometheus and Alien Covenant. And we just dropped our Patreon today as we're recording, so yesterday as you listen. For $1, you can listen to the newest episodes early. I'm going to try to drop them on like Monday or Tuesday so you guys get a few days early. But for $1, you can listen to the newest episodes that are released on Friday a few days early. And then there's going to be more content to come on that. So patreon.com/dissectthatfilm. You can find us at Dissect That Film on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We're never on Facebook, but we're there. I just don't do anything with it. And yeah, thank you to my panel for being here, and make sure to follow all these wonderful people and listen to their shows because they're fantastic. And all the links will be down in the description. But until next time, I am Brett Parker. That is Alli and Matt of the Quad Pro Quo podcast. And that is Wyatt of Cinema Trip Reviews. And this has been Slice of TV. You all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Bye.